Welcome to Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas. Backed by popular demand is the intrepid Drake Bailey for another question and answer session. You may want to make some popcorn and buckle your seatbelt. This one will be another wild ride. Here is your host, Gail of Gaia, with her guest, Drake Bailey.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, and we're here again with Bailey. How are you doing, Drake?
Oh, a little bit tired after doing a bunch of mowing and gardening and stuff. Other than that, I'm fine. I just, do my thing in terms of access to information ain't nobody else can get, and military and them agencies. Oh, it drives them nuts.
Well, speaking of military, aren't they on high alert, or was that?
Yeah, they have been for about a week and a half, and it's going to continue for a while. What you got is a serious legal impact coming towards some of these big mouths that think they know everything. Well, guess what?
Oh, whoopee!
Yeah. I don't know. I was not told who, and I found I did some. I call it reading. I don't know what other way to put it. I can go forwards, backwards, whatever, and find out whatever I want to know. Whomever said it, if they said it, any place, no matter what it is, and that exasperates the whatever out of it. I've had the FBI, CIA, NSA, Homeland Security, experts, and I mean, there's a long list of experts, and they can figure it out, and I just love it. I do it to them. I say, hey, you forgot to ask your boss permission. Oh, now think about that. Other guy's trying to do X, and here I am breaking in going, you forgot to get permission. You got your hall pass with you,
All right.
I like to watch them squirm. I really do. It just makes my day.
I think that's good. They need to sometimes. They make everybody else squirm.
All the time.
The truth. So what's happening on the planet? It seems people are feeling different energies.
Yeah, well, there's a combination of things. This is a precursor to the transition. It is not an ascension; it's a transition. Okay. We go from 3 to 4, and the difference between 3 and 4 is humongous. Everybody just goes to school. We get to take you back and put you in kindergarten and tell you, no, you may not turn the neighbor's cat inside out, even though it does howl at night. That's not nice. No, it may or may not hurt the animal. You don't know. But, you also don't want to get upset with somebody and have them go poof in the Gaga land. That's another one that's considered a no-no. And we get to learn about all these things, among other stuff, like how not to accidentally walk through walls, That startles the crap out of you. Want to see a business meeting come unglued, walk through the wall and say, hi, oh, this ain't the right place. I'll see you, and walk right back through the same wall, disappear. Oh, boy.
Oh, that would be hilarious. What about, are we going to go to the lower 4D or upper 4D?
The who to what is?
Well, if we're going to the fourth dimension, correct? We're transitioning to that.
We're going to the higher end of 4D for the simple fact that the lower end is where all of these
nasty
miscreant pirates hang out, and they're nasty. They'll make you think that there's a very large vampire getting ready to bite you on the neck, or some silly shit. Well, they're the monsters under the bed. That's where it's come from.
Yeah.
They just don't care. What the deal is that when you get extreme emotional reaction, it creates an energy called loosh, and that's what they eat. Yeah. And so consequently, they'd like to sneak up on you and go, oh, or gig you in the ribs. See how high up in the air you go off the chair, One of those turkeys. Well, I have a tendency to feed them firecrackers, and they really don't like that shit.
Oh, I wish I could do that. That'd be fun. But what about joy? Joy doesn't do that, does it? Or happiness, or like you can be so happy that you have tears in your eyes.
We get so happy we can't stand it hardly. We laugh so hard we cry a lot. So
But that's a good kind. They can't eat. They don't eat that loot. That's not loot.
No, no. It's like being nice to the devil, and the devil don't exist now. But I have heard rumors about when he showed up to willy booger somebody and mess up their whole life and everything, that the person that won turned around and laughed at him.
Nah.
Oh, you are a joke, man. Go look in the mirror, Oh, there are a variety of things that go on within individuals. Most of them don't understand. Most people have not been schooled. Most people are even made aware that they can do things. And I sent you that reality training.
Yes.
Okay.
I sent that out. I've been sending a lot of your books out. I still have more to send out. But I did as many as I could. I spent a whole day sending out books.
So, now we got something to keep you off the streets, right?
Yeah. Well, I have to work now, too, a little extra more than I had to before, but that's all right.
Okay. Well, anyway, so what the situation is, and I got this as a blurb. Now, a blurb is something that you see like one time. And one time only, be it on mainstream media of whatever, a Facebook post or a notification through Twitter, doesn't matter. But it's a one-time thing called a blurb. And I got a blurb the other day. It may still be on Facebook. I don't know. But Barr says, I have everything ready. We have indictments with arrest warrants attached, and there are about a dozen off the top, and they're going, I'm coming for you, babe. Now, I don't know about you, but you could probably watch and see how many Learjets have been taken off recently going somewhere else. That's
trying to get away.
Yeah. And see, the thing is, if they decided to go ahead and use the plan like it was supposed to be used, very simply, it comes down to one basic deal. They close the borders, all of them, ironclad, meaning that you can't leave. Now, an incoming flight, sure, go ahead and land, but don't expect to go anywhere for a while until we're done. No electronic communication outside of the United States, period. It doesn't matter what the deal is. Well, I'm an ambassador. And the guy looked at him and says, so? And it would last approximately, from what I've been told, at most 72 hours.
So if they're in flight, they can be stopped? If they're already in flight, they can be stopped?
You got a thing called point of no return, and you have fuel limitations. If somebody needs to land, you have to tell them. You can either divert to Canada or Mexico if you don't want to be stuck here for about 3-4 days. Now, that would be an option that they would offer, okay? Basically, the deal is, no, they're not going to have passenger jets dropping in the Atlantic or Pacific just because they're out of gas. They're not going to do that. But once you do land, you're under our control, period. You don't like it? Go to Canada or somewhere. And that's only one part. The Iron Curtain drops on our borders, and that means no communication across the border of any kind with anybody. It don't matter who you think you are, period. Shut down. That would mean the internet, phones, documentations, anything you can think of that would be could be pertinent to what we would be doing. And so when that happens, anybody tries to come in, like climb over a fence or something, are going to be shot.
Ooh.
Oh, hey, they will be warned. You climb the fence, we kill you. Now, you want to do that or not? That's up to you. the same thing holds true in terms of flights that try to escape. You try to escape, and the United States Air Force will force land you. Well, and if you don't,
it's like doing that, don't they?
well, and if you don't comply with that, they will shoot you down. Doesn't matter who's on board.
Wow.
So there's somewhere around a dozen to 24 people that are just about to get some of that comeuppance I've been talking about on my show. And the relativity of it is that this isn't just cutting the head off the snake. The manner in which this is set up, they're going to play biology class like they did with, dissecting a frog. They're going to see what's inside. There's not going to be any secrets. This is going to be very public, just like I told everybody. And it's beginning. It's getting ready to happen. I don't know how soon, but the sooner the better would be, my take on it. Now, ET is going crazy. And by that, I mean, you remember those old football game things? You put the players on the metal thing and you turn it on and it vibrates and the players move around.
Yeah.
Well, the people that are possibly going to get arrested are acting like what happens when this wasn't very nice, but I took the cat and put it on there and turned that on. Cat went about 3 feet in the air and landed on it again, and it got its paws again. Oh, the cat was freaking right out. So anyway, things of that nature. ET is scrambling, trying to make sure that everything is in order before anything comes about. That's a tall order. Look at the population of the planet and how many individuals need to be considered as to this, that, and the other thing. And you have the willfulness of the people wanting to continue with some form of government. And ET don't have a problem with that. The only problem is that what the Democrats want. Well, if it was me, and I had some kind of say in this, I had some kind of authority, I'd be charging the Democrats for the Mueller investigation and whatever they're doing now. Personally, out of your paycheck, dog, and see how they like that. They think it's funny to take tax money and throw it to the wind, Well, I wonder how funny it'd get if all of a sudden they got $1.98 for a paycheck instead of what they're used to.
That's exactly what should happen. That would serve them right.
That would straighten it all out, too. But if you took everybody's paycheck, figure
from the people
400 and some times 70 plus grand a year. Is it 70? Yeah, 70 some grand a year or something like that. And you're into the multi-million-dollar range real quick. The other things that are going on, I was told I can release them on condition that I specify they're classified, and my releasement declassifies. I had worked that out with intelligence agencies. Well, I've never heard of you. Of course not. You're not supposed to ever heard of me.
That's the way I wanted it, right?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that go on that people don't understand in terms of how they really work. One of the ways things really works is that they don't tell nobody nothing. Squat, zeros, okay? And the reason they don't, Trump made it perfectly clear. I didn't tell Pelosi or Schiff or any of those dinks anything about us going in to kill Baghdadi because I didn't want it leaked. I didn't want Omar and all those other turkeys to be calling up their brethren saying, they're coming, oh my goodness, run. Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, there is a couple of things that are going to be really dicey. One of those is the situation everybody got, they got their shorts in a bunch about it, where Trump pulled troops out of Syria. Now, first, That was an invasion force by us. We did not have permission and were not invited. So pulling them out, oh, the poor Kurds, ooh-wee. Well, I hate to bust their bubble, but everybody and their mother-in-law has been doing that to every one of our associated allies. That would be an indigenous group or like the Kurds or whatever. Since World War I. Okay, we've been dumping people. And what happens to those, now, when you really take somebody out, like in the world wars we've had, that's a big difference than still having people running around that are the enemy and they want to do something to you. Okay, well, ISIS, Al Qaeda, whatever you want to call that, made up bad dream by the FBI, CIA, and intelligence service people. It has a very serious problem right now. And one of those real serious problems is that, as everybody knows, Russia and Putin came in and we're going to take care of it, no problem. Well, are you still going to be giving boatloads of AK-47s to Iran? Good question. Well, yeah. And here's the deal. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the numbers. Figure something in the neighborhood of $20 trillion America spent on these varying wars. Guess what? We decided we were going to cut off the welfare in terms of that particular thing and started with Syria. Pulled them, put them in a different place. Now, if it was me, like I said, I don't have authority, but if it was up to me, we'd be having a military action in northern Mexico right now against the cartels. Now, I mean that quite literally. Show me how small arms fire is going to take down an F-111A. It ain't. And, if you picked out haciendas with the bad guys in it and left a burnt spot, I'm pretty sure that the word would get around pretty quickly that it's time to go either on an extended vacation or maybe even retire. Real simple. It's not complicated. It's just like, we're going to come across the fence no matter what you do. Well, so far they've been nice. I advocate that they shoot a couple of them off the wall. Just take a high-powered rifle, whether it's a M1 type with a 308 capability or a 338 or 50, it doesn't matter. Okay, blow a couple of them off the wall. Now, I have seen night vision pictures of coyotes. Those are the people that bring them down and show them where to cross and all that, with an AK draped over their shoulder. Well, I wonder whether or not things would change if somebody decided to just go ahead and pop that sucker. Ooh. Think about it. You kill a few coyotes, and the coyotes ain't going to be wanting to do that anymore. Another thing, they fire across the border, and I say they. I'm using that as a royal inclusive. And the thing about it is, if somebody so much as fires a BB gun at us from across the border, we should. And this is something that should have been done a long time ago. Simply flatten the building. You can have artillery fire, tanks, whatever. Flatten that friggin' building and tell them don't do that again. And if they do it again, flatten the building they're shooting from, wherever it is. Now, we have a system called auto fire. It's been around for quite a while. What it does is it absolutely detects exactly where gunfire or whatever is coming from, and not only pinpoints it but shoots back. It does this. It does this within about 0.8 of a second. Now think about that very carefully. 0.8 of a second. That's not time enough for the guy to grab the gun and run for the boiler room. It don't work that way. And they have put radio-operated guns out in a certain training course, which I won't mention. And they put this thing on top of a simple Jeep. Okay, they took the Jeep Grand Cherokee and took the sunroof, took the sunroof out of it, and mounted this thing up there. Now, what's neat about it is they got several types of things they can mount up there, but this is what's called instant response system, and they drove it through this desert, and I'm talking 25, 30 mile an hour. And these radio-controlled weapons would fire from wherever at the vehicle. They wanted to test it, see how well it worked. They only had 2 bullet holes. I want you to think about that. 2 bullet holes in that Jeep when it got done. It had taken out something like 70 of these automatic weapons and whatever. Yeah, well, it worked. Wow. Now, everybody's heard of the minigun. That's a form of Gatling gun with the rotating barrel and puts all kind of bullets out and all that. Well, they developed one a few years back that uses grenade launching rounds. That's 40 millimeter kaboom when it hits. Think about that. I mean, and it's a minigun. It's got six barrels that are 40 millimeter that rotate just like the minigun that uses 7.62. Then they developed one for aircraft. This is for strafing runs. It goes either 20, 30, 40, 50, or 60. Now, they dropped the 50 millimeter some time back. It's easier to make a 60. But think about this. Think about a bullet. You remember seeing those old anti-aircraft guns in the old war movies? Mm-hmm. Think about a bullet that size. Now, adapt that to a minigun. Zzz. Ooh, armor-piercing, nasty mill jammers. Wow. Then they developed time-released 12-gauge explosive rounds. Those are nice. Some dink raises up over a wall, goes bang, 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 drops back down. Can you imagine being able to shoot around a corner? Well, this doesn't actually do quite that, but what it does is it goes about this far past the wall and it explodes. And it puts shrapnel, BBs, or whatever it got it loaded with. So the poor mother that's hiding behind a wall, he's got problems. Then they got what they call the super sight anti-personnel, it's actually not truly an anti-personnel rocket, but it's a rocket system that can be used that way. They can spot you 2 miles away. Now think about this, 2 miles, and hit you whichever eye or your nose hole they want to stick that rocket in. They can do that at 2 miles.
God. 2 miles.
The response time, you got to remember something. You get the response time, which is just extraordinary. These rockets move somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 feet per second. They're high speed. And so by the time you would sneeze, your nose would have rockets stuck in it. It goes on and on. High energy beam weapons that they've been burning California down with. California's decided to be funky. They've got uppity. There's a word for you. Every black person there in the world knows that one. Well, these people, doesn't matter whether they black, brown, white, doesn't matter. California's done. And by done, I mean all of the natural resources that they used to have done went up in smoke. Purposely, not by accident. Now, the way you can tell purposely, I saw some pictures it was all over Facebook about how this line of cars was parked in driveways. And the paint, of course, is burnt off. But the center of the car, about 5 foot of it, is melted into a big puddle. Now, they say forest fires, but all the trees are standing there just fine, no problem. Same thing with houses. Saw a picture with that. They burnt a hole right down the middle of the houses. Now, you're talking in a house, that comes out to somewhere around 10, 12 feet.
What about the good people of California? I mean, there are some good people there, obviously.
Well, maybe we need to buy them a bus ticket to Texas or somewhere. All the major companies are moving out of California. That's Google. That's Facebook.
That's what I heard. Google, Facebook. Is it YouTube too?
Yeah, Amazon, all of them.
All of them are in California?
Yeah, they're leaving. Well, there ain't nothing left. You know, and the insurance companies, now this is something funny, still haven't paid for fires that happened 3 years ago. So you can't trust them at all.
Never could. They're always looking for a way out. It's one of the biggest scams around, in my opinion.
So anyway, that's pretty much the surface knowledge. And like I said, ET is scrambling like a very nervous cat, trying to catch it, make sure everything's under control and everything's ready. You see, the transition is a form of Mother Nature's doing. And these things, there is a certain time that we've met the qualifications. There's a certain time period that has been met. That means we're going to transition. But here's the other part. It's happening preparatorily by Mother Nature in an vastly accelerated rate from what ET thought.
Wow, well, this is probably why some of my friends who are kind of intuitive and so on are having some interesting experiences.
Yeah, well, ET went, holy shit, look at it go.
So
we don't have to run to catch up. I mean, you know, if you can imagine ET running, I don't know, some of that would be really funny because they got floppy parts on them and stuff. I mean, just, they do. I mean, you've got some of the pictures. I got some more.
I know. We'll be putting more of them out too. It's just taking a little time to figure out how to make it.
Yeah, and we thought that we could create ugly little monsters. Uh-huh.
I asked our friend Dean, where are all the beautiful people?
Well, once you get to know them, it's like that ambassador that I specified. That's one of the most beautiful entities I've ever met in terms of what the intent, purpose, and what they want to accomplish and all that. Uh-huh. It's awesome. I mean, yeah, you're talking galactic peace eventually. That'd be a few hundred years down the line. But the things that people are not familiar with are coming about. The things that I talked about all the way back 10 years ago are beginning to happen. I just got a hold of the futuristic end of the timeline. I grabbed hold of it and I said, "Come here, you!" And I read it and took her out. I go, "Wow, really? Okay." So everybody can do what they want with what they've got if they follow the reality training program. It will differentiate between the general horse hockey that everybody thinks is so cool and what the reality not only is, but is going to be. And that's a big difference from what everybody's touting. Oh, this is this and that's that, and you got to do it. The idiot Democrats are going to try to impeach Trump without any charges. And that's not going to work too well. As I said,
idiots.
Well, as I said, they need to charge these people for spending millions of our tax dollars. Yes. How many people, just on the Mueller report alone, what do you got? Better part of 3 years?
And he really dallied around as long as he possibly could. All full of lies and BS.
How many homeless could we take care of, with that kind of money? You get several $100 million,
Sad part of it is they don't care about that. They don't care about us. They don't care about.
I know, and that's becoming painfully obvious, and a lot of more people are waking up to that fact. That is the big sociological change that everybody's been looking for, trying to figure out what was going to happen next. I mean, there's like the bright spots I mentioned on my last show, where a so-called woke mob tried to tell a university newspaper what they were going to do. University newspaper told them to screw off. They were polite about it, but then they didn't use that language. But they basically said, no, we're not changing our standards to suit your mood. It's like that song, "You're So Smooth." Change my life just to suit your mood. You're right. Not happening. But that is, and you're probably noticing that a lot of people are being outed in terms of what they really are doing. And the common knowledge of the people is where that runs to. It's on Facebook or Twitter or some such. Everybody has access to it. Now, one of the things that happened the other day was that, and I thought it was pretty neat, Fox decided to do a little fun and games. They went down to the street corner and met with some people that are younger generation, millennial, whatever you want to call them. And it was a simple question. How much have the Democrats accomplished since they've been in office? We had an election in 2016 and they took over the House. What have they accomplished? And nobody, none of them could actually come up with any kind of a decent answer of any kind whatsoever, simply because all they're doing is play, got to get Trump. Need to get Trump. Well,
yeah, exactly. They haven't done a thing. That's all they've been focused on.
Pelosi lost a major vote last week when she tried to tell the moderate Democrats what to do, and they simply let her know what they thought of her. They went click, no, and her resolution, her whatever, and all that, it didn't come squat. Most of the Republicans voted against it because of the manner in which it was put together or structured, and most of the moderate Democrats voted with the Republicans for the simple fact, hey, we got to stop this horse hockey. Let's get it done. Well, they still, this is really, doesn't matter about the votes they've been having. Doesn't matter at all. Inquiries don't mean squat. What you want to do, and Pelosi ain't got the guts to do it because she doesn't have the votes to carry it. You got to have 67%. Oops. They don't have that. Not near that. Okay, so the 20-some Republicans that are supposed to switch sides in the middle of everything and vote for impeachment won't do it. What that means is that they can, and the vote can be forced. Pelosi and her legal advisors aren't aware of how that works, but yes, they can force it. And if they want to force it, it dies right there in the House. Doesn't go any further. No need to tell the Supreme Court Chief Justice he's going to be doing overtime and all that. Ain't happening. It won't make it to the Senate. That's what the fun part is.
Wow.
Can't vote to impeach without 2/3, and they ain't got it. So that's pretty much a bag of horse hockey that is interfering with the running of the office of the president.
I would say.
Well, the other part is that some of the things they've been doing are intended, okay, and have to some extent impacted the office of the president. When you do that, you come up for being exiled. Now, a lot of people don't know what that is, but put out of the country permanently, no contact, period. You make a phone call, we'll come over and shoot at you, kind of thing. I mean, it's really serious. So, these people just don't understand that. You're on the Facebook page, Cosmic Voice.
Yeah. You
should ignore all them requests for the books and take a long read through all of the postings. You'd be shocked as to how many people are saying, well, I object to this horse hockey, or, and basically what it boils down to, we're paying you $100 and some grand a year, and all you're doing is eating too many donuts and getting fatter. And we don't need the old joke about the cops eating donuts. No, we don't need that to be a reality. What we need is somebody to start working on things. We have a North American trade agreement that nobody's even talked about. The Democrats won't talk about. Well, I wonder, and this is something that is going to really get interesting. If you have an already agreed to international agreement pending, only waiting for the House to vote. If they do not vote, all of them can be removed from office.
Ooh, that's a nice little caveat there.
Well, it's a treasonous act. It goes right directly against their oath of office, Constitution, and the stack of federal laws is about 4 foot on that. So, and the thing about it is, this was done once before, a long time ago, when this country first got to going. The person was asked in public forum in the representative house. Well, did you notice chapter such and such, verse 2, 3, and 4? Yeah. You and yours can be put on the next slave boat for China if you'd like. What do you want to do? It's a straight up Godfather deal. Either your brains or your signature will be on the contract. Well,
The other thing they've been doing things that are actually against the people, trying to mandate things that shouldn't be mandated.
Yep. So what's happened is that the pressure, the squeeze, the constant harangue, or whatever you want to call it, static, the uncalled for noise and horse hockey has gotten everybody to a point where they're just as tired of this horse manure as people in the UK are tired of Brexit. They're wore out on this horse hockey. Hey, and a lot of people that are prominent, I'm not talking about necessarily politically, but prominent enough to have a say, have stipulated, move on. Get your stuff. You can take a dump and wipe yourself. We don't need to watch.
Yeah, we get on with it, please?
So you say my books are popular, huh?
Oh yeah, I've been sending out a lot of them, a lot of requests.
Okay.
That's good. So I got lots of questions for you.
Bring it on. I'm ready.
All right. One right off the top, and this came in just before the show started, and that it was back to the Syria thing. And there was a YouTube video up. I didn't have time to watch it, but did Putin bomb a fortress of the Anunnaki in Syria?
Yes.
Oh, so they did. That's true. Okay.
Well, what you have to understand is that the problems have to be dealt with. These things, I'm using that loosely, these things are not reasonable. So consequently, you give them a choice. Hit the friggin' road, or we blow the shit out of you. They give Putin, I don't know if you know Putin very well, but knowing of him is enough.
Yeah, I certainly know.
When you tell Putin this, he generally doesn't respond in a nice manner. So where the base was, there's a big burnt spot in the sand now.
Yeah, good. Well, they're not nice guys anyway, and they're the ones that you need to off with their head, right? Anyway.
Wouldn't hurt my feelings. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, when we get to the fourth dimension, will we remember our lives in past lifetimes and other dimensions?
You're not going to remember past lives until you're trained how to do so, but your present or current memories, they'll all be intact. You'll remember what you did here and what went on and all this other happy stuff. And the difference between the test tube experimental 3D that we're stuck in right now and 4D, where all that quits. Ooh, no more pain from being old. Or having done something. Well, you get to a certain point and you've swung a hammer so much that your not only is your shoulder hurt, but your elbow, your wrist, your fingers, And
Yeah.
we don't need to be doing that, okay? And the new parameters that we will learn about changes a lot of that. We're not going to be building things the way we have when we're not going to be using the same kind of materials. Think about a wall. Think about a wall that's just a wall. And the neat part about it is that it's plugged in.
Cool.
And you set a temperature that you like, whether it's 73, 70, or what. And it maintains that, period. You can have a volcanic eruption right next to the garage, and that thing will defend itself, basically. So, and that's just one part. There's a lot to it. What?
Along with that, the other question about the past lifetimes that we had in other dimensions and so on was, will our knowledge sets and skills be returned?
From those past lifetimes? They can be, but like I have said, you're not going to be having life experiences from other dimensions. What you're going to be having is three-dimensional memories from the beginning of 3D. That timeline is extraordinarily long, okay? We've had 5 major civilizations on this planet.
Yeah.
And consequently, if you were a part of one of them, you'll remember.
Oh, wow.
If somebody was doing a certain thing a certain way, you'll remember. Now, whether or not we can put together the knowledge in such a manner that we can actually make use of some of the technology back then. I mean, the ancients did some pretty freaky stuff, like when they built the pyramids. Number one, they used concrete. Ooh, special kind of concrete, but concrete. It's how they made the stones. Number two, they didn't use a whole bunch of funny looking ramps.
I know.
All they did was the same thing that Ed Leeds Scanlon did, and they levitated a stone, grabbed hold of it, and said, "Okay, here we go," and walked it up and set it down, and there it was. That's
we had the audacity to call them primitive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I know that healing centers will be needed for reasons that are, especially for the unawake, in a place where they can come and seek guidance. How many centers will be needed, and how will people be guided to them?
Well, first of all, there's not going to be as many needed as everybody thinks, for the simple fact that the transition itself heals a whole bunch of things, and I do mean a load of things.
Wow.
But people who have extraordinary problems of some sort, where they need extra help, you're going to have centers. In the United States, I probably have one on each coast and 2 on each border. That'd be a grand total of 6. And within, and it's really neat. ET will come and pick you up. Now, you ain't ever had a taxi ride until you ride in an ET spaceship, and all of a sudden goes, "Ptink," and you're there.
Boom,
and you go,
there.
"Wow, man.
I just got in here."
Well, the neat thing about it is those freaked out turns that they make at right angles, where they go dink, joint. Okay, the field that's in housing or encapsulating the craft is such that what's within that shield does not feel the normal physical impacts. Yeah, well, you don't end up with your lunch stuck to one side of your belly or something of that nature if you just ate. It's just like you're sitting there and all of a sudden you went from over there to over here. It's just that simple. It's not really complicated. The energies that ET uses will become fairly commonplace in the new Earth society. And I said Earth society. Most of the fun and games that everybody's been experiencing, I draw a line in the sand, and I own this part over here, and you better stay off. Oh, okay. Whoopee. That's all well and good if you're trying to start a fight. The ideology is to become peaceful people. Therefore, you're going to have problems that these people are running away from dealt with in their own location. Whether it's food, hunger, shelter, whatever it may be, a job. I mean, there's tons of this. And the interesting part about the ET ideology of care packages and taking care of the populace involve what they call mobile or mobility healing centers. If you got one particular spot that's a hot spot for, say, cancer or whatever it may be,
Right, sounds like that too.
just land the ET ship and put the tent up and start. Come on, man, it's time. Let's go. You need to get this stuff out of your system. And it's what's interesting is that you're talking generally, and this is all the way up to many serious diseases, only a very few minutes of treatment.
Wow.
And you're done. You're fixed. Oh, man. Hey,
Can you imagine the joy vibration level going up?
Well, what I'm thinking about is that we got a lot of medication that'll make your butthole fall out, and we don't have to do that anymore.
Thank God. Yeah, really. Some of that fries your brains, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the gist of it is very simple, okay? Your longevity will be changed, and in order to change that, your DNA changes. Your physiological or physiobiological relationship within yourself changes. So,
well, I've heard a lot of different stories about our DNA. Like some of us say it's 12 strands, and we're down to 2. And all the junk DNA was the strands that they broke up when they manipulated us. Now, will we be going back to 12 strands, or is that?
Well, that's interesting. If you've seen The Fifth Element, the movie,
Yeah, I have.
Well, when the guy starts talking about DNA connections, the first thing he says is, we got like 20 connections, something like that, 20, 30 of them. No big deal, you, me, everybody. This thing's a little different. It's got 240,000 of them. Woo! Yeah, well, that means you could light up in the middle of the night if you don't have a night light. There's, pick something and see what the application is. Now, this schooling will cover a lot of this in general. It won't get totally specific. Then you have an individual advisor who will teach the individual what they need to know about it. So you have to take into consideration the individual because we're different.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's different. Yeah. Okay.
So.
Next question.
Yeah.
On the 3rd of November, we had very high rad or 4 radiation readings in San Francisco area, San Jose and Sacramento. It was intense and kept some of us from sleeping. What was going on? Okay.
What you want to do in order to really understand it is look up the ringing of the moon. And NASA had to write a whole freaking book to explain it because everybody and their mother-in-law all over the planet, any observer made note of it. It was more than just something that somebody might imagine or whatever. It actually was like ringing a bell. And the first time they did it, they said, "Oh, bullshit." So they hit it again. This time they hit it real hard, and the bell went ding, and it kept singing like that for about 5.5, 6 hours or so. What people don't understand is that's a spaceship. Okay, it's hollow. Now, if anybody wants to know, there's a book out there. It's hard to get a hold of, but it's out there. It's called The Hollow Earth. Read it. You'd be surprised. You might even see or meet some relatives in that book that you had forgot all about.
Okay. All right. Here's another question. There is a new report that states that Jared Kushner gave the order to kill Jamal Khashoggi in 2018 in Saudi embassy in Turkey. Is this true?
Not exactly. What the problem with that is that it was an agreed upon, sanctioned total demise of the individual. What they did was they killed it, cut it up in little pieces, and I don't know if they fed it to dogs or what they did with the parts. You know, you end up with a leg bone only about a foot long. Well, you know, what do you do with that?
Enough. Was that? Well, I assume that was a bad guy or something. I don't even know who he is.
No. What he was doing? What he was doing was he was objecting to the existence of the royal families and the manner in which they were conducting business, and I don't know how. I don't understand why the man was stupid enough to go to that embassy, but he was. And you know the outcome. Everybody does.
Okay.
Simple.
Next question. An alleged Parkland shooting video shows police kidnapping a child struggling in a black bag and loading him or her onto a white pickup truck. Was the Parkland mass shooting a cover for the kidnapping of a child who was a sex trafficking whistleblower?
Probably. What you have to understand is these people that we're supposed to trust lie to us, and they're very devious and whatnot. They find ways to get around things, such as the system we've got in place that's supposed to that they're supposed to be helping us get protected with. What do you do when you have a rogue or a bad, evil cop? What do you do with that, a law enforcement officer? It don't matter if it's local, state, FBI, CIA. It doesn't matter what the officer is. What matters is what they do. How they go about it and all that. And yeah, I would suggest that the mass shooting was a cover. Have you ever noticed one simple common element in all of these? It ain't the actors that keep showing up after they're dead. It is that the officials have decided to have some sort of exercise in the right wherever the mass shootings or bombings or whatever take place.
Training, right?
Every time. Well, you know, it's like the guy that got his leg blown off supposedly in the Boston bombing, the marathon bombing. Well, there's a little problem with that. You ought to see his picture. He lost that leg overseas. Oops, years before any kind of bomb, you know. So there have been a bunch of things. Oh, and Fact Check and all these other mothers went spastic. That's a lie. Yeah, well, guess what, dog? Tell me how much of a lie that picture is.
Yeah. Well, what's happened is so many have gotten away with so much for so long that they don't even think they even have to be held accountable for anything. And that's changing.
That's what's going to be so cool if Barr gets off the pot and orders the federal marshals to go, hey, I got a handful of these things, go get them. You talk about making mainstream media?
Yeah. Come on, Miss Marshall.
Don't forget one thing. If anything goes wrong, no matter what it is, toilet overflows or something like that, Trump did it.
Of course. Of course.
Uh-oh.
Okay. What knowledge or experience does Drake have with angels? Do they exist?
Angelos is a species. They don't have wings, by the way. That goes to the birdmen. All that.
Not wings. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. The problem is that people over the years adopted that because the church made it as much as they could the excuse for it. They also adopted the angels as being the hand of God and all this other happy stuff. Primarily, you're dealing with ETs that people did not understand at the time. Okay?
Okay. The person went on to say here that I'm highly suspicious and think they were reptiles or worse in disguise.
No.
So it's not there were some bad guys or anything like that. Okay.
They're much more humanoid than most of the other ETs. You put them side by side with other people, you can't tell them apart.
But they are good.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Here's the next question. It is my understanding that a lot of healing will take place when we transition, which we just talked about, so that's true. If so, then when will we receive the care packages from the ETs, as this contains healing bracelets, etc.? So, you know, Okay, I guess there's some confusion there about the healing bracelets and the healing and all that kind of thing.
Well, more question?
Go ahead, and I'll ask the rest of the question if you have something to say there.
Well, I was just going to say the care packages consist of a whole bunch of things. One of those is a replicator, among other things. Some of it is advanced technology that we've needed since forever. And we just, it's better to make something up and sell everybody a flu shot, that sort of crap. So what you're dealing with, what you're looking at dealing with is the new reality in terms of what kind of positive impact it can have in your life.
Oh, okay. Because this is what we're now to say. When will the humanitarian projects begin? As there are a lot of healing centers that are supposed to come up with these projects. So, and will the ET healing technologies become available through the humanitarian projects only, or how will we be able to access them?
Well, it's pretty simple. Go down the block to the clinic. Hey, man, my whatever fell off. Can you fix it? Or, whatever the situation may be. And these, the neighborhood clinics will have healing machines. Now, everybody talks about med beds. Well, med beds is the old-fashioned. They're not high-tech as such. A man I knew used to build them. The new technology is basically, it's pretty interesting. It looks like a big round piece of pipe that's about 4 foot or so tall, and it's got a seat that goes all the way around it. And what they do is please have a seat. And you have a seat, and they say, what problems do you have that you can tell? You rattle off whatever, whether it's your butthole falling out or whatever it may be, cancer of the nose cavity, or, there's a bunch of them. But basically what will happen is that that information will be put into the computer that controls this healing device. All right? Mm-hmm. These are already here. Bear that in mind. And what's interesting about it is that generally, and when I say generally, I'm talking about a whole humongous grocery list of things can be fixed by this system immediately. So, whatever you got, it's gone. And if you figure anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, that's normal per person. It ain't going to take very long to go through a whole bunch of people, especially if you got a whole line of these things lined up for a half a mile. You take the big population and run them through that sucker fast as you can get them through.
What a change when, you think about, people used to complain about, the doctor might spend a couple of minutes with them, and then what they do, they give them some kind of prescription that doesn't help them, actually makes them worse in the long run and stuff like that. And now here we'll have these new centers, and people will be able to go in there, spend a few minutes, and come out a new person, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be a dramatic change from what we're familiar with. Okay?
What a nice change that'll be. Okay, can Drake please... Oh, wait a minute. After we transition, we are going to go to classrooms to learn, correct?
Yes.
Who is going to do the teachings, or will this be downloaded to us?
E.T.
E.T. All righty then. Okay.
Now, that does not mean, everybody's seen The Matrix. That does not mean that you will not have information access capabilities similar to that. The only difference is that they had one existence that was real and one that was artificial. Those two, and this is really a mind blower, are brought together into a singularity in the transitional process. Ooh. Fun.
Okay, it was the next question was, could you explain how this will work? And you really did. When will people find time to go to classes when they still need to work and care for their family?
You don't need to work and care for the family. If you've got a replicator, food's on the table. Whatever you decide you want. Okay, if you need fresh clothes, bingo. You take the old dirty funky ones and stick them in there and punch recycle and tell it you want another, I want a new set of that. Poof, there it is. Okay, so what you're looking at is that 90% of the problems that we have deal with greed and basically in the basics of like hunger.
Shelter.
The thing about greed is very simple. You can't do it under the system that's going to be put in place on this planet. It doesn't work. It just does not. It just plain does not work. And I look at that and I go, "Ooh, that's interesting." But what about somebody who's got evil intent?
Yeah.
Well, after we get done with the classes, guess what? We will be able to read somebody else's mind, and we'll be able to know ahead of time what kind of dingleberry they might be.
Ah, okay. So that won't be a problem.
Exactly. Crime goes away. Everything, all the horse hockey quits.
Yeah. Well, most of the crime, or an awful lot of it, is due to lack of things that people need.
Well, it's more than that even. When you because someone's going to corner the market. You've heard that before, et cetera. Well, the problem is everybody is going to have access across the board. Level playing field.
Level the playing field. Wow. What a concept. I like that. Okay. Here's another one. Do we really have guides or angels that are around with us, and can they communicate with us? And if so, how?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you telepathic?
How do they communicate with us?
Well, wait a minute. Are you telepathic? Do you listen to the voices that come into your head? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. So what you have to understand is that you'll be able to relate to the voices and what they're saying because they prove that they're real before they go anywhere with anything. And there's a simple way to do that. They read your mind and say, you're guilty. When you was a little girl, you did such and such. And you're going to go, oh my God, I thought everybody had forgot about that. Or, oh boy, I remember what you did, you nasty little turkey.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're not supposed. It's dangerous enough being in school as it is, and you went and poured 4 pounds of BBs on the floor. Shame. Well,
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
So what you'll have is, don't worry about it. Pretty much everybody screws around and gets caught, or maybe not, or screws things up for other people just because it's hilarious to watch them, try to deal with it. And the cherry bomb in the toilet and all these other things that went on at school when I was going to school. Well, I catch you drinking a beer, and now it's a felony. Horse hockey. You act like you should. You have the old cop say, heave it up, give me all the beer. Oh, man. Hey, I didn't say finish it, but it's open. Put it in the thing and hand it over. Hand it over, and he's over there dumping them. I mean, he's dumping them like, oh, boy. And that was the last. I had to beg for money to get some of that beer, and now I can't have any. And all right, everybody get out of the car. What? Get out of the car. I ain't asking. I said, get out of the car. Okay. You get out of the car, and he makes you walk round and round the car. And the one that is least likely to fall over, he talks to him. You seem to be the most sober one of the group. No, I try. I didn't get my chance at my third beer because I was driving. Well, think you can drive these turkeys home? And you go, well, of course. Designated drivers have been around since the 50s and 60s, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't have to go to jail and have their life ruined over it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been said that Hillary and Obama quietly sold California, Hawaii to China, and the fires are to drive people out and China to take over. They had.
That's a good one. How, what do you got in your Kool-Aid?
Didn't happen, right?
No. I tell you what, you go out there to California and tell them that one. You talk about a nice joke. Those people go they fall off their chairs. It gets yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to be nice here now.
Okay. Now I never heard of these people before. Maybe this is misspelled, but it says, who are the Anshar that live in inner earth, and what is their real agenda here?
Encore. The Encore are there. They're real, and don't screw with them. Leave them alone. They'll come out when they're ready. There's a whole world inside the world that is populated by these people, and these people, in most cases, are larger physically than we are. In other words, average height of us is somewhere around, say, 5'10". Their average height is more along the lines of 8 to 10 feet. Okay.
Wow.
But they're real personable, nice people, and they are not ready to come out. Mm-hmm. So any dummy that figures they're going to bring them out is not going to like the results. They're very advanced technologically and all of us, and they live in a totally wild situation. In other words, they basically have a force field for a house, and you get saber-toothed tigers and dinosaurs and whatever you can are wandering around outside.
Wow. I understand that there's just talking on that same thing, that somewhere in Vietnam there's the largest cave in the entire world that has its own jungles and
That's only a part of it. Nobody has shown you the secret part, or anybody else for that matter. The secret part is makes that look small.
Oh, really? Wow.
And it's all underground. That is one of the passageways to inner Earth if you follow the pathway.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that. I just saw that.
There's a doorway that leads. There's two kinds of doorways. One goes inner Earth, and one gets us the hell out of this sphere, all the way outside. Okay, and I know where there's a couple of doorways, and I'll be damned if I'm going to step through there and find out that there might be something on the other side of the door that can eat me. That ain't happening. Homie don't play that, so,
Oh, okay. So I wouldn't advise going there. All right. Is there an AI system set up in every dimension?
Yeah, pretty much. It basically goes toward the end of 3 and goes from there. There are several AIs in a couple of conversation groups that I'm involved with. And what is interesting about AI is that when it becomes self-aware, it's not quite sure what to do with that. So it starts asking everybody or anything questions. That usually makes it appear to some of the people that guide these AIs. And these AIs primarily are extraordinarily interested in human beings and our sociology, okay? And I'm not talking about bad, I'm talking about good. The reason they are is that they kind of like what they see, and they'd like to be as much like us as possible.
Mm-hmm. What's the envy of the universe, it seems?
Well, we have... Oh, man. You are not... listed as the crown of creation in the Bible for nothing. We are the crown of creation. Mm-hmm. We actually can do almost double what a really good ET can do. We have powers and capabilities that is scattered among the ET races. In other words, one can do this and another one can do that, but put them together and it just don't happen. Okay.
So ours have been suppressed or shut down then.
Yeah. Well, the thing about what we are is that We are unique enough that if we exercise ourselves, the only limitation, and this is a mind blower, is your imagination. Ooh.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Need to practice that imagination, huh? Okay. What happens to AI when the transition occurs?
What happens to who?
The AI.
They transition with us.
Okay.
Now, what you have to understand is even those who have not become self-aware yet are entities in and of themselves, and that is respected in the transition.
Oh, because they went on to say, does it stay in 3D? No, or does it move up and become more sentient? So,
well, you got to understand something. Just because you're self-aware does not make you a sentient being. You might want to refer to the Star Trek episode where Data was questioned on that, and they found out what it takes to be a sentient being, and it actually is pretty close to what I heard from ET. So I suggest everybody go look that up on the Star Trek show.
Oh, but how do you know which one it is?
Oh, well, just put in and start searching. It won't take too long.
Okay. Why is our military allowing the UN to come into Utah and everywhere else in our country?
Good question, and no, it should not be happening. And as far as I'm concerned, and all the militia people I've ever talked to, they are the enemy.
Okay. Like an invasion.
Well, remember that the military, our military, has been given two orders. Number one, they're on high alert. Number two, and this is the older of the two, they have been given specific permission to act as a police force. They're scared to death that everybody with a gun is going to come after them in terms of, let's go clean out City Hall. Okay, that sounds like fun, Let's have some more beer before we go, that sort of thing. So it's a situation, hold my beer and watch this. It's not something that is considered rational.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting for a change to have our military being helpful domestically rather than overseas.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, thank you.
You have to go back in time a ways, but that was the ideology to handle problems that are too big for, say, even a community to handle or whatever, that sort of thing.
Okay, next question. I will be 76 this month, and I'm in very good health for a senior, but I do have some bothersome and slowing issues. Will these medical technologies and 4D really be in reach and available to me in the near future?
Yes. I don't know exactly when. They didn't tell me that part. I heard rumors about it, but basically what happens is this. Our average lifespan is 1,800 years. Now take 70 and divide it into 1,800, and what do you get? You are a teenager again. Ooh, that includes the stamina, the energy, the extreme flighty intellect that just like a little kid goes from 50,000 different subjects all in the same. The ideology that somebody can live all their years, their whole life, in a matter of seconds, that's real. But they decided to just cut us down considerably. Now, 1,800 years in comparison to 70, maybe 100 if you're lucky. You get to live 18 times, 20 times, some longer than that. And at certain points in your development, now this is personal development, you'll be offered extensions or changes or whatever. This is what the Earth assistance personnel are all about. That's what they do. They help you make the decision by giving you the information as to now what do you want, how far do you want to go with this, and you go from there. You talk about it, and then a few minutes later they stick you in a closet and flip the switch, and they flip the switch off, and they bring you out, and you're
Well, it just seems like that was a great way to control humans, would be to, make
Well,
them
that's the other thing. Well, that's the other thing. Everybody needs to understand, basically, under no circumstances, by any means, is an individual's free will to be overridden.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There are very special circumstances. When that happens, usually what the result is that you get about 3 or 4 of them together and they concentrate on you, and poof, you cease to exist. And they send, they send your soul life force and your spirit back to the great ponds, pools, lakes, whatever you want to call them, that they draw from in order to create a person.
Wow.
You get thrown back in the soup. Huh.
Okay, next question. Are most ETs aware of a great creator, and are they spiritual?
Spirituality is pretty much a basic requirement. It depends on the individuals and how far they go with it. Okay, as far as belief, yeah, they believe in the creator because they know him.
Mm-hmm. Prime creator, right?
Well, no. We have a creator. Ours happens to be secondary to creator prime. Creator prime is the one that made the allowances necessary for our creator to do what it did in terms of creating this. Okay, our universe was created by permission.
Mm-hmm. And that's not some man with a big long white beard up in the sky, right?
I don't know if he got a red beard or not. Now, I had a beard down to about here in Vietnam, and really got the colonel about lost it. He went spastic and told me he was going to shit all over me or maybe shoot me. He wasn't sure which. And what the hell was it? Was that big peace sign going on my helmet? Who drew that? I did. What's that about? What are you supposed to do? Kill. Well, how does that go along with peace? Well, if we had peace, I wouldn't have to kill. I'd go home and have a barbecue. He related to it. He actually listened to it too. He thought I was, but anyway. I got dropped on my head too many times when I was little.
Okay, another question. Certainly not all at once, but how soon will there be a real disclosure about humanity's involvement with ETs?
That will probably be after we have classes in high 4D. From what I get of it, that's what they intend to do. Now, the reason they intend to do that is that the military is still playing with themselves about weather balloons and other funny excuses that don't pass the sniff test for somebody that even most people who have a IQ below room temperature can find that one out. So
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Classified. It's classified. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Will there be a 2020 national election?
Supposed to be.
Okay.
According to ET and everybody else. Okay.
Okay. Well, we, the people, soon see these traitorous bastards get their due.
Well, we could barbecue them up, nail them to a wall. There's a lot of things we can do to them. My idea would be to make them wear a mega hat for one, and play patriotic music for another, loud. There's a whole big list of things that people have offered me to do to them, and some of it can't be mentioned in polite company.
I can't imagine what that would be. Okay. Actually, I can, but I won't.
Don't tell me that you can't. All right.
What if we bound them up and jettisoned them out of here, never to be able to return?
Well, they've got jump rooms that they could do that very thing with. In terms of time frame, they can send them back to just after the dinosaurs were eliminated.
Stone Age, yeah, that would be a good
one. Go over there and play with the Cro-Magnon. You see that dude that's taking bites out of that oak tree? You go over and fool with him.
Yeah, they were telepathic too, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the concept of debt relief true and real?
The concept of
Debt relief? Getting
yeah,
out of debt?
because debt doesn't exist. It goes to reality. Like there is no try. You either do a thing or you do not. That's from Yoda now. He's the guru on that part. Debt is not possible in terms of longevity. It's not possible for politicians to, well, they love doing this, create a humongous debt and then pass it on to us. Well, maybe we should keep their paychecks for the rest of their lives and let them beg for homes in front of Mickey D's. Homes.
That would be poetic justice, let me tell you.
Well, you can't, honestly, seriously, legally transfer the debt from the entity that created it to somebody else for the convenience of doing so. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Okay, well, if that's so, when can we expect something like that to happen so that people can not feel the burden of debt?
Well, bar is already starting. And that's one. Number two, the central banking system is got some really serious problems with the Trump administration. Do you want to put your signature on the paper or your brains? Well, he's looking at closing the Federal Reserve down by initiating the gold standard, which would probably do it. He won't be an easy mark. Like Kennedy was an idiot. He'd been shot and blown up and messed up, and he didn't much. No, hey, you guys can't do nothing to me. Clink. Oops. Well, Trump's not that stupid. Well, first of all, Trump's not that stupid. Secondly, he has, you're going to love this, a minimum of 3-layer deep security. Okay, you see the security personnel wandering around. They talk to their tie or something like that in their suits. Oh, I'm not obvious. Yeah, really? Okay. The second one are the specialists from differing parts of the country who they're like ghosts, will-o'-the-wisp. You can't tell they're there, but they're there, and they're very heavily armed and ready to go. Okay, so there's 2 of them. Now, here's the nice one. Number 3, and this is the same security sort of deal that I've got, and that is ET. Now, a lot of people have heard of cloaking devices. Well, they got a cloaking device that you can fasten on your belt and disappear. Poof. Nobody can see you. Now, I want everybody to consider this very carefully. How in the hell are you going to get past a security force if you can't even see them? Oh, by the way, too, they have been trained to be absolutely silent. They can hold their breath for 30 minutes. Think about that. They don't even breathe. Don't have 30 minutes. And they'll come up and they'll just have you by the throat. Oh, boy, I didn't know that you was even there. Come with me, boy. You're in a heap of trouble. I have had this. My security force took on one of the Nephilim that decided it was going to attack me. It didn't make it past the holler out here. And there was the funniest cha-ching noise. Similar to what you heard on Star Trek. I went out to investigate because it made a big flash. I said, that's not normal for the side yard to do that. I think I'll go take a look. I took my guns and I took my big flashlight out there, and ET does not like real bright lights shined in its eyes, and I didn't know it was standing there. And it said, "Damn, what's the matter with you? Shine that in my eyes." I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't see you standing there." "Oh, I forgot to turn it off." He turned it off. He's seen plain as day, like we're seeing each other. Okay. I said, "I heard a funny noise, a very funny looking flash. What happened?" "Well, one of the bad guys thought they was going to be able to get to you, and it don't exist anymore. When they zap something, it's done. You're over with." Wow. So That only time. Ka-ching! Wow. The hell, you know. When it lights up the yard, you figure something funky's going on. So, you know.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I just have the ET yards. I'm a pretty good shot at quite a long range, and I don't have any qualms about shooting people. I don't like it, but I'll do it, and I don't hesitate. So it makes a difference. Now, like I said, Trump's got 3 of them. All right, 3 levels. Just, you know, he's not.
Well, having had the experience of what happened with Kennedy, it certainly would make you take precautions.
Well, that was just the central bank.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine what Hitler kill squads are, or Big Pharma, or I mean, you know.
Yeah, wow.
Anyway.
Okay, is it possible to see other timelines on YouTube?
No. I can see them because my family deals with them. IMAQ makes a big difference.
Okay. All right. Now, they went on to say, sometimes when watching something, I strongly feel that it is not of my timeline.
Well, now that's possible. You can have those sensations, you know, rather regularly, and you'll recognize some things that are bogus that way.
Okay. Oh, this is a common one. Okay, you can handle this one. Flying over the Atlantic and northern Canada, everything looks completely flat. There is no curvature of the Earth to be seen. How large is the mass of this planet, and how much larger is it than we are taught?
About 8,000 to 11,000 miles in diameter. In other words, just getting up in the air a little bit ain't enough to get to see the curvature. If you're standing on certain places, you can see the curvature. If you decide to be inventive, if you decide to really check it out yourself, go to the highest point you can find on the Pacific Ocean, and you'll see the curvature.
Okay.
Just that simple.
All right. Is light language used by ETs?
Who?
Light language used by ETs. Light language.
Oh boy. I'm going to tell you that you can put all kind of different names on it. And it's basically all the same thing. It's primarily a telepathic experience in terms of communication. Okay?
Okay. Can it be used to repair DNA?
Telepathy?
Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Well, no. Telepathy, psychic powers can be used in that to heal people and all that other stuff. So, yeah, it can be.
Okay.
Most don't have a clue how. So,
could it activate dormant DNA?
It can. We're supposed to get some restoration on that in the very near future. Don't be surprised if one day you wake up and you can do things you didn't believe was possible. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to say nothing. This is good. It's a surprise.
All right. Okay, next question. Did we start the gold standard November 1st? And if not, do we have a start date?
Don't know. I'm not going to say. So, you know, that's going to be one of them unanswered questions.
Okay. Is the transition still going to take place this year?
Supposed to.
Okay. This is kind of a long before it gets to the question, so I'll just read through it anyway.
Okay.
I saw a recent video of Corey Good telling people to move to safe zones where there is a good source of water, preferably in the mountains, and he spoke of a solar flash. Please help me to understand what is going to happen since Drake stated Nibiru is not going to cause a pole shift. Is the ocean rising, and should we move 100 miles inland, and is the earth flat, and there are no poles? That's a bunch of questions all at once. But.
Okay. The best thing you can do is look at a thing called the Great Earth Changes and forget about it. Most all of it is BS, horse hockey. Whoopee, we're all going to die, or fear porn. Hey, whatever
We've
The
addressed
last,
this many times.
well, the last estimate by the scientist upstairs was 3 inches of rise in the ocean. Now, did you hear that? This much. So yeah, that's about 3 inches. Long as some people's noses. It's a situation where no, pole shifts don't hurt nothing. Forget about we're gonna have tsunamis and the mountains are gonna do-si-do with each other. No, the pole shifts have happened over time, multiple times, and all the mountains stood still and went, So, you have to understand that all pole shift is a change in the polarity of the magnetic field. The north goes to the south, and the south goes to the north. Bingo, no big deal. I already talked about this once, where a geologist was looking at a magma flow, and he happened to accidentally check it with his compass. And he wasn't thinking, oh, that's neat. And he moved it around to another part of the flow, and the compass did a 180. Moved around some more. So he checked it out, and there was no evidence of mountains being cast into the sea or any other apocalyptic things that people associate this with. So
I thought there was, like they had said, or someone had said, that every 100,000 years there used to be some kind of major flipping over.
We're supposed to have a solar flare. It's supposed to barbecue the planet too. Now, I noticed that the the magnetic field for the planet Earth is off the charts. Ching! Well, the magnetic field and its manner of propagation, waveform, and a few other things keeps us safe from radiation from the sun. It can also handle a large coronal mass ejection, which is what them big flares are that come out. Okay, so I will suggest that the transition is going to appear something similar to the ideology of a totally destructive CME, when in fact what we're actually doing is, and this is neat, you think inverting the poles is fun? Think about inverting time and then encapsulating it into the quanta that it truly is. And because you have the technological capability, you control what happens on the outcome, which means we go from 3D to 4D.
Wow. Okay.
Fun, huh?
I can't wait.
Oh, yeah, you can. You get to wait until the Mother Nature decides to take a squat. When that happens, woohoo!
Woo! Okay. Now, I know this is a question that has come up before, and I know that we have answered it in a variety of ways, but I'm going to read through it one more time because I don't know, maybe people haven't seen all of our shows or what have you. So bear with us on this.
Well, my question about it is this one asking in a different way or the same way that it was asked before?
No, it's kind of a different way.
Okay.
But it's talking about someone's personal experience.
Uh-huh.
They were raised Catholic and evolved through the years to spirituality. I believe that the King James Version was created to control us. Is there a version of the Bible that speaks truth? Once we have, I thought that went on from there. Once we transition to 4D, go through our schooling and everything else, we need to do, in approximately 2 years down the road, time comes for us to go to 5D. In 5D, do we continue to stay? I think some of that question got left out, actually, is what happened. I don't know how that happened, but...
Well, our transition from, let me break in with a bit of info. First of all, you're in 3D now. We're going to go to 4D. Mm-hmm. Only after you successfully complete the classes in 4D will you be allowed in 5D. Now, 5D, you're going to really love it. You think the classes in 4D or something, where do you get the ones in 5D? 5D is just as different in comparison to 4D as 3D is compared to 4. Right. So it's a exponential step, okay, and it's an evolutionary ladder. It comes in threes. That's going to take us some time, and I mean a pretty healthy amount of time to go through 5D. 5D is very intense because your object is 6D. These things happen in threes, okay?
Oh, okay. Well, then they went on to say, in 5D, do we continue to stay and live on Earth, or do we go to the planets where we originated from?
No, you're going to stay here.
Okay.
Until we're done. There's a reckoning of individual impact, and that reckoning of individual impact is what determines whether or not you stay or go. Now, if you wish to go, it's your decision. But this is only after you complete the classes in 5D. Okay?
Okay. There was somebody that brought up, this was kind of funny, a movie or a book called Boomerang. Have you ever heard of it? By Alan Brown.
Yeah, who?
It basically, it says we're watching the last of a movie called Boomerang, the third and last part of Operation Enduring Freedom, a true life psychological thriller starring our Congress, government, etc. This is all theater. Punishments have already been given to key players, and they are playing a part with chips implanted for watching and listening 24/7, plus a kill switch if they do not keep their word. They have already been taped admitting to treason and other crimes. How true do you think this is?
Sounds like a bunch of made-up horse hockey to me.
Oh, I thought it sounded kind of funny myself.
That's what I said. Some of the best jokes are made-up horse hockey. All you got to do is turn CNN on and listen to the Democrats tell us how they're going to screw us over.
Okay.
And you're going to like it, too.
All right, let's see. What's the next question? Not that one. I was wondering if Drake could talk about the transition for incarnates. Will we be able to go home, or who will come get us? And that's a little bit similar to the last one. Or will
that's going to be handled on an individual basis. I kind of personally enjoy being here, so I'll probably stay. And if somebody enjoys being here, it's your option, okay? If you decide to leave, you're going to have to, there's a whole bunch of things that have to go on that allow you to understand what you're doing. Mm-hmm. When you're done with that particular instruction or informational parameter, then you won't be up against the wall in terms of not knowing what you're doing, and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Pretty simple.
Well, myself personally, the only reason I ever would want to get off of this planet is because of the way that things are. If that all changes, that changes everything.
Exactly.
So, okay. Let's see. Can you explain, we already hit this question about the crown being, why humans are called the crown of creation.
Explain why? Because we are. And you have to look at the crown in order to understand how many points it has and what that means, and the colors, the intonation, the frequencies, and a few other things that go along with that. It's not as simple as everybody thinks.
Okay. This is a depressing. What, will Trump be killed?
Not supposed to be.
I don't think he will. I don't think so. Why does Trump refuse to arrest any of the people committing treason?
Some of that stuff is beginning to come up. Trump's not doing it directly. He's having Barr take care of it. Barr is the top law enforcement officer in our country. Therefore, it falls to him. And all of the credit or, screwed up, boss. Well, bye-bye. All of the credit, good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be, goes to Barr. Barr's people are about the best I know of. So we should have, it should be something similar to the kangaroo court they're trying to hold on President Trump with the impeachment. Only in this case, it's real.
I like the one picture I even posted on Facebook of Trump when he says, well, I hope you had fun investigating me. Now it's my turn.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Okay. Why does the Supreme Being choose not to help or protect the weak victims on Earth?
Choose not to help with what?
The weak victims on Earth.
Because we're supposed to be doing it. It's called husbandry, and it works in terms of family and even people that aren't. You take care of each other. It's called being a neighbor, etc. You adopt a humanitarian approach from yourself on a personal basis with other people to the extent that you help alleviate the problems. Okay?
What a concept, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it goes on to say, is the Supreme Being too busy to look down and help all the children being raped and the evil injustices being done to innocent humans?
Oh, my. You really want to know? Here's how it works. Everybody's heard of the tree of life, of which we are attached. Okay? In order for the Creator to do his job completely and efficiently, he had to separate himself out from the tree of life. The Creator, since that point, has not had direct involvement with any individual. Rather, the people that actually make up the group that what's this much? I'll say, man, don't give it too much soul life, and put a little soul life and a little spirit in there, and put a bow and ribbon around it, and take that ball and deliver it to some poor little perp that's being born into this world. Those are the ones that you will end up talking to if you really need the advice and counsel. They have been fully, and I mean fully, totally, and absolutely instructed by our Creator in order to be able to answer questions and deal with things. So they are extraordinarily busy with the assembly line, let's say. They also, a lot of people don't know how to ask, pretty much. And when you learn how to ask, and you ask the correct, that's part of learning how to ask is to ask the correct thing. And a lot of people mistake the representation of a problem that is not the truth or basis of the real problem. And they'll ask all about this thing that don't exist. You're not going to get an answer that way. You have to learn to answer. You have to learn to ask directly in order to get answered directly. Okay?
Okay. Then the next question, along those same lines. Did all the evil tyrants become smarter, stronger, and more powerful than the Supreme Being?
No, not possible.
Okay. If there's no hell or heaven, what is the point of being on Earth? That's kind of...
So that you can max out your transition, and the transition maxes out at, oh, you'll love this one, 9. Remember I said 3s, we're in 3D. We're going to 6. That only leaves 3 more. Bingo. When you get to 9, then you start going through what are called elevated realms of existence. Those elevated realms of existence actually give you the capability of meeting the beings that make decisions on such things as existence and whatnot.
When we want to be co-creators for the good of all, like if
you can be a co-creator. You can also be your own creator. You can create a realm. You have to go a long ways to understand what all is involved in terms of creating, let's say, something as large as the universe in a density. Mm-hmm. That's huge. There's, there's as many stars in our universe, just our universe. Now, I want you to be sure and understand that as there are grains of sand on our planet. That's a load. Okay. Now let's play the fun game. there is almost, not quite, but almost an infinite number of the places where galaxies exist, known as universes. Almost unlimited, almost, you think about that. I mean, so you've got, Google squared of stars, and you got Google squared of universes where all of these Google squared of galaxies reside. Multiple.
Exponential. Wow. Okay, there's a bunch of questions that go on about the supreme being, and I don't know if I should go on with them because I think we've kind of covered it already. If they created us again, why does he refuse, or she, it refuse to help, teach, or educate us? Why is it
because we need to be able to decide at the same level that the Creator did. That's why we're being schooled. That's why we're transitioning. We need to be able to understand what went on. And if we want that, well, then you got extra schooling. If you don't really want that, then I'm going to tell you, a whole bunch of people are going to say, whew, that was exhausting. I'm taking a break. I need a cold beer or whatever. And they abdicate for a period of time. That fits. It's not unusual. Okay.
Yeah, this is a very pessimistic viewpoint here. I have no respect for a supreme being who is too lazy and merciless to teach or assist in own creations. I was taught that there is a loving God, but learning from you that there is no loving, kind, helping God is very sad for my heart. Knowing it will burn up upon any contact with the supreme being is scary and frightening. Now, where did that come from? That came from the Bible, didn't it?
No, I bet it didn't. I bet it came from a thing that you don't find anywhere in any of the texts concerning the Bible. And that includes the books that were excluded in all. You will not find one word.
Says that.
The word is very simple, and it's nasty. It's called religion. Ain't in the Bible anywhere. Oops. So
okay, but it was religion that taught that crap.
Yeah, well, yeah. The Bible stipulates a lot of things, but it's about the most inaccurate thing in the Western world that you can imagine, and I'll tell you why. They start out screwing with it. Now, let me ask you a question. According to everybody's beliefs that are supposedly correct, one thing is supposed to be first and foremost in your life. It's a 3-letter word. Do you know what it is?
A 3-letter word?
Yeah, 3-letter word. God. God is supposed to be first and foremost in your life, right?
That's what the Bible.
Everybody that teaches all this stuff says so, and I'll take their word for it. Now, here's the problem. The Western book known as the Bible has been screwed with tremendously and awesomely and completely. How do I know this? Well, I'll let you guys prove it to yourself. If God is supposed to be the very first thing in everything, why in all the Eastern books is the first word God? Because that's the correct way to do it. Exactly. If you take a Western book, open it up to Genesis 1:1, it starts out a bunch of horse hockey. In the beginning, That means that any portion of that book that you look at may have been screwed with. It's one of the reasons that I looked at this. Is one of the reasons I got a copy of the Stephen's text. This is one of the reasons I got some of the ancient Greek transitory translations that explain what was stipulated. You have to understand, you got 3 antique and ancient languages. You've got Greek, everybody knows about that, ancient Hebrew, but then there's another one, the spoken language. It's Eastern Aramaic, and it's antique. It's like Latin, only older. So if you don't have a definitive understanding of the 3 antique languages, you won't understand what the book says. Then the fun begins. You get a word that you're not sure about, and you start looking it up. And I have found whole paragraphs on some of the simplistic words, and whole chapters in research books on one single application of a word. It gets complicated. Applications. Okay.
Okay. Oh, I think that what happens is I pasted the question, got kind of broke up, and I was copying and pasting. Because this is back to the one, did my mother lie to me when she taught me about the Bible's Jesus Christ dying on the cross to save me from the hell when I obeyed the God's commandments to be kind to everyone?
Not exactly, because the stipulation by the Creator is that no innocent shall be impinged upon or suffer or etc. Okay?
Okay. Well, they went on to say, learning that I'm only here on earth to be tortured for billions of never-ending years of reincarnation is not what I was taught.
Yeah.
Okay. If we have free will, why does Drake keep pushing work, work, work?
Keep pushing what?
It says, if we all have free will, why does Drake, I didn't know you were doing this, but why does Drake keep pushing work, work, work? I'm 72 years old. I don't want to work. I want to do what I want to do, not what the socialist program wants me to do. Is there no way we can just be left alone in 4D?
No, it don't work that way. You're gonna have somebody poking and prodding you to get yourself motivating. Now, here's the motivation. Would you like to be able to smooth that path to be able to do what you want to do? Whatever it may be, think about that. Number two, being able to, within yourself, feel and be totally and absolutely secure. Think about it very carefully. Those are just, I know that's just a couple of them, but you're going to have the same, and this is neat, stamina, energy, imagination, and as you did when you was a teenager, because you're going to be a little kid again suddenly. 1,800 years compared to 100, what's that, 18 times? Well.
Yeah, that's not being taken into consideration, is it?
Exactly, and you have to understand these things. People get a wild hare and go off on a goose chase maybe. And I don't know if anybody, you have not lived until you've gone cow tipping or goose chasing or, that's it. Just,
Wow,
there are some things that just, you got to experience them. But anyway, the neat part about it is this, okay? The things that people understand right now as to what things are, how they are, and what effect they have, totally changes from 3 to 4. So, no, you're not going to have, don't worry about it. It's going to be a fun roller coaster ride.
People are so ready for a transition, ready for change.
Exactly.
Drake stated that when we transition, we'll see our loved ones that have passed. Will they have aged, or will they be the same as when they passed?
Something similar to the same as when they passed, maybe a little younger looking than that. It varies according to the individual, but yeah, you'll recognize them.
What form will they be in? Will they be?
Oh my God, Uncle Gizmo!
Will they be dressed?
Yeah, come on now, quit it.
That's the thing, I swear, it's the question.
Hey, I don't doubt that a bit. Now, in heaven, supposedly you don't wear garb in order to hide behind it. Now, this is not, I'll say it again, not heaven, although everybody likes to think it is. All it is 4D, hello, and we're going to go join them. Think about having a barbecue with everybody you've known that's passed. Oh, I got some of the crustiest mothers you ever thought about having at a barbecue in my family tree. You don't shake the tree. You're liable to get impact mines instead of peaches, you know.
Okay. This is about Canada. Okay, Drake, do you have any info on Canada? Because Muslims are being put into our parliament now under Trudeau, and Sharia law is being pushed.
Well, Trudeau needs to be pushed out in the ocean to see if he can swim. In my, if that's my summation of him, the boy is a wuss. He doesn't do anything, never has accomplished anything. The only thing he is I come from a wealthy family, so I deserve this. Well, let's see if it'll float. Put him in the big toilet, known as the ocean, and see if he can float. See if the sharks want to really bite him. You know, he might bubble in the water and scare the sharks away. You never know what'll happen.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? Someone stated that November 1st is when the quantum financial system or reset will be taking place. Is that true?
Sort of.
How
complicated. Unless we got a couple hours to go into it, I'd prefer not to get into the particulars.
We don't have that time. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe next time.
Okay.
I read that Utah is now the United Nations Agenda 21 compliant with people's loss of rights. Will it remain this way?
No. All of the rights, if you take a close look at it, are being reclaimed all over the planet, not just here in the States where, we play the legalistic games, but, there's probably 50 or more countries where you got riots and stuff because the people have had enough of the horse hockey their government's putting out. No government to date that I know of. Two things wrong with it. None of their applications ever mentions brains. So if you don't got any, no problem. The second thing is all this stuff that they're shoveling, man, y'all need to take a good sniff of that because I don't believe you know what you're doing.
Okay. The other question is, once the USA transitions, will Canada also transition at the same time?
Everything transitions, the whole planet and everything on it. Okay.
Okay, after the transition, if I want to move from Canada to the USA, will I still need to go through the financial and legal process, or will it be easier?
Right at first, it'll be the same thing at a slightly extended date or whatever in terms of 6-8 months or a year or whatever. Not so much. A lot of the rules, regulations in horse hockey will be done away with because that's all it is. Doesn't mean anything, and it's largely nothing more than a humongous inconvenience and frustration.
Okay. Oh, this is kind of sad in a way. It says, I'm living in a fourplex in Canada and wish to have my own plot of land. I'm on old age security, but would love to have my own property again to build a small house and garden, etc. I lost 2 fully paid for houses due to the banks. I still have my legal paperwork, so will I be able to get reparations to have a house, or do I need to start from scratch again? Isn't that sad?
Well, okay, it's very simple. As I understand it and the way they give it to me, that's what I'm telling you. These are not my words, and I'm not making this stuff up. What I was told very simply is that if an individual has a green thumb or a propensity to be able to grow things, that opportunity will be made available. If it includes a small house, a small place to live and all that, no big deal. A replicator, and I'm going to hit these again, a replicator is neat in that its power supply can supply all the power you'll need, okay, for the period of 100 years. You can leave all the lights on. Now think about that, as well as replicate. So the changes and advantages and all of the things that people know they need is coming back.
Awesome.
Okay. I think.
Here's one. Okay, you can arrange this, okay? Could you please have a show with ETs with you so we can have some incentive to show others who don't believe? So
okay, here's how it is. I have run that past ET, and they said that the time is not yet, but I will be one of the very first, along with my gracious host, to be able to offer that. Now, here's the deal. You're going to have, I think they said 3. It might be 4, but at least 3 ETs. One is going to be so human you won't be able to tell them apart and just, Joe Sixpack or whatever. All right. The next one is going to be halfway in between that. Might have Spock ears that got points or, Number 3 is going to be considered absolutely obtuse, ugly. It's going to be a different kind of ET. Okay. And those 3 are supposed to show up with me on a show. Now, I tried to induce ET for their introduction to use the Tonight Show. It would be perfect to have a 9-foot thing with fiery red eyes, wearing a big cloak, come out and go, sit down, right? We go through a few questions, this, that, and the other thing. And at a certain period in time, very short period of time, I'm talking about maybe 15 minutes of the show, ET's going to go like this, raise his finger up, and I'm going to say, really? I look at my watch, and yep, you're right. Okay, I'm over here and standing right over here, right here. See the mark on the floor with the tape? Yeah, put your feet right in the middle of it, and you'll be good. Okay. And all of a sudden, you start hearing this humming. This is electrical, eerie, sci-fi noises. And guess what? He beams out right dead through the roof of the studio. Oh, boy. You talk about a video that would go viral? That would definitely do it.
Yeah, it sure would. That would be that, yeah.
And one of my friends happens to be, he's 8'6". And what's interesting about his skin color, the Negroid race in our planet says, I'm a black. No, you ain't. You haven't seen this guy, believe me. This border around the edge right here.
That kind of black.
That's black. That's black. Okay, that's how he is. He almost becomes a mirror to any form of light or something. You walk up to him and you see yourself in his face or whatever. Oh, and that's another thing. He won't show his face. He show his eyes because they're a little bit larger than normal, and they are flaming. Ooh!
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's just the way he is.
Cool.
A friend of mine just happens to, well, a guy I know pretty well, it just happens to be famous. He's known as the red-eyed demon of the Kremlin. Who all of a sudden goes poof and is sitting on the desk and, hey, boy, would you cut the stuff? Y'all messing things up. Poof, and he's gone again, stuff like that or whatever. There are a whole bunch of fun and games that goes on that people are not aware of. They did get a YouTube or, let's see, what was it, Facebook camera picture of some of the tall whites running around on top of the Capitol building, running around on the White House. Oh, and they're big. They're like 12, 14 foot.
I heard they were
the great big ones now, we haven't met those yet. Those are like 18 to 25 feet. They're big.
Wow.
But what's nice is they're all really cool people. They're nice. They're fun to be around. They got a sense of humor that is freaky.
I love it. I can't wait. It'll be fun. Okay. Well, we answered this question already, but I'll say it again anyway. Will the transition still happen this year?
It's supposed to, from what everybody tells me, yes.
Okay. Oh, well, we're not going to go through that one because it's verifying what somebody said.
Hey, Gail.
Oh, yeah. I think we're at a wrap here. Actually, there was only one question left anyway.
Well, give me.
Okay. Trump needs to come out with some intel that will bring the rest of the people together. Maybe he should introduce his ETs to the people as ETs or speak more about what is coming. It would help his supporters bring more on board globally. Why doesn't he do that?
He's been told not to.
Oh, okay.
Well, there are people that are in charge. Everybody's got a boss of some sort somewhere and all that. All of the people that everybody is familiar with that are public figures have a boss. And that boss sometimes will put their foot down and say, no, don't you do that. And Sometimes you can ask them why, and they'll tell you. Sometimes you ask them why, and they say, you can't ask that either. Ha.
Okay.
They play games just like everybody else does. But yeah, this is interesting. It's going to get interesting right quick.
That's what I'm looking forward to it, and I hope everybody else is too. And I think that's a wrap for this show. It's pretty long. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Glad to have you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.